Ladies and gents, PepperBelly back again with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about something I wasn't really expecting to talk about, and that is America's Army 3, because you're probably familiar with the last video I put out where I was discussing 25 Assists, which was an America's Army 2.5 community-made launcher that revitalized and brought America's Army 2.5 back to life, making it fully supported and work as desired. At the same time, however, I was also kind of flipping back and forth between America's Army 3, remembering the game, because I did enjoy it when it first came out, and was thinking about how it's doing now, but considering it still is active. In fact, it's pretty much slightly more active than 25 Assist. Has more players consecutively compared to 25 Assist on average. That said, I want to discuss the shortcomings of this game and how this game is the biggest missed opportunity I have seen in a very long time, especially when it comes to the tactical shooter genre and military realism. This game is an outstanding game, but it falls flat on its face because of issues that plague the overall gameplay experience, which is why it's such a shame, because the core mechanics of this game are exactly what I would expect from a tactical shooter. And I ended up actually writing a review on this game, and if you guys know me, or if any of you guys are actually friends with me on Steam, you'll know that I very, very rarely post actual reviews for games at all. Even games I really care about, I don't write reviews. And I made the exception for America's Army 3 because I really wanted to voice my opinion on it, because, as I said, it's a huge missed opportunity, it's wasted potential, and this game could have been something spectacular, but it didn't because of negligence, or whatever may have been the case from the developer standpoint. So, the reason why this game falls flat on its face and has issues is mainly because of server performance. I talked about it in my last video how I was saying the problem with this game was netcode, hit registration, latency, and just general server performance. It isn't up to snuff. It doesn't run as smoothly as you would hope. And as a result, firefights do not feel consistent every single time. And that's a huge problem. You know, there should be no need to have to pump like 10 to 15 rounds into a single target just to kill him because the bullets are not registering every single time, or they're missing because of latency issues. Like, there's just too much inconsistency there, whereas it ends up making the game benefit from a faster, more run-and-gun style of play. And America's Army 2 was prone to the same thing, where everyone was running around with burst fire and fully automatic weapons and just spraying down targets. This game follows suit with that. The only difference is because it's faster paced, because you are able to move quicker. It allows for rapid strafing that's even faster than America's Army 2, and really quick Call of Duty style engagements. Now, in itself, some of that is realistic. Like, obviously, we're going to talk about maneuvering. Maneuvering is a realistic thing, and the animations actually line up with what you would expect to see someone actually maneuvering like that. And of course, you can play the game very slow, like you're seeing here, where you take things in moderation and do things in a methodical manner. And it works beautifully. You know, you can get the upper hand by moving slower because your cone of fire is a lot tighter the slower you move when you're firing from the point shooting stance. And it makes getting the drop on someone a lot better, especially when you have a magnified optic like this ACOG 2 times. It makes it a lot easier to be able to actually engage targets within close proximity to you. The thing is, though, however, there's so many instances where you'll be shooting at someone point-blank range like that, and none of the rounds will hit him. Or they'll hit him, but they just don't do enough damage, and then he somehow gets lucky shots on you in a very inconsistent manner that just breaks the entire flow of the game. It just makes you think, like, in a tactical shooter where one gets the drop on someone, you expect to be able to neutralize that threat. In this game, it doesn't really exist. And it's problematic. That's the main reason why this game just isn't as good as it can be. In addition to just not being polished. It's not a polished game. There's some bugs, there's some weird, finicky performance issues, like the mouse is inconsistent sometimes. There's just strange issues where when you're playing the game, you can just tell it's not a fully fleshed out, polished experience. When you compare it to, say, like a game like Insurgency, where that game runs buttery smooth and the environments are hard-coded so that you're not going to be clipping through environments, or your sight's not going to be wobbling because of weird interference where you're clipping through the ground or clipping with objects or anything like that. It's like, it's a solid, clean, polished experience. And when you're playing this, you'll notice that there's some weird, finicky issues that just breaks the overall flow of the game. It feels kind of jarring and abrupt and not as smooth and laid out as it can be. And as a result, the game suffers. Now, one of the things the game does right is all the mechanics it has implemented, which by itself sets this game apart from a lot of tactical shooters even now. And I would actually compare it to Ground Branch. In fact, looking at it now, it reminds me a lot of Ground Branch. This would basically be what Ground Branch would look like if it was fully fleshed out to a degree, because this game actually has a low ready weapon posture. It has weapon collision, so the longer your barrel, obviously you're going to want to use an M4 carbine versus an M16 in a CQB environment, because you have the benefit of the shorter barrel with negligible performance difference between the two platforms. In addition to being able to walk at a slower pace, you have the normal run pace with your weapon up. You have the slow walk, which if you aim down your sights, it automatically enables it. Or you can toggle it while you're also point shooting or walking with the weapon not sighted. And you have the sprint. Combine these three things with the ability to lean and roll while in the prone. It has all the main fundamental mechanics you expect from a tactical shooter. You can change your fire mode, you can lower the weapon, it puts it on safe whenever you put it into the low ready. You can lean around corners, you have flashbangs, you have frag grenades, you have smoke grenades. There's a lot of team cohesion. The game modes are actually very team oriented. You got like VIP escorting, which is actually a SWAT 4 game mode that has existed in SWAT 4. You got like a ton of interesting game modes, and they actually added co-op as well, which would be an awesome experience if, again, the game was actually polished and ran well. But it's plagued by these issues that just crush the overall experience, and it's a damn shame. You know, it makes me think about how if they would have just focused on fixing and polishing and delivering this game versus just deciding to go with America's Army Proving Grounds, which is the 4th iteration, the 4th installment, this would have been a far better game. And Proving Grounds went in a completely different direction from what America's Army was traditionally about, which was military realism, and went into a run-and-gun, fast-paced Call of Duty style shooter, which, if you guys are familiar with my channel, I enjoy to a degree, but not in a game that's supposed to be about replicating realism and authenticity. So when I'm playing America's Army, I'm expecting an experience like this, you know, a realistic experience. And this game offers it. This game gives a really good depiction of actual combat, team maneuvering, close quarter fights, minus the spray and pray nonsense that sometimes happens because of the issues the game has, where it actually makes that style of gameplay prevail. So it is a missed opportunity. It's wasted potential, and it drives me nuts. You know, like the engine itself, it was developed on Unreal Engine 3, and it has some minor issues in relation to that. Like, for example, if you're using a 16:9 aspect ratio monitor or TV, you get black bars, like you've seen in the video. You get black bars, vertical black bars on the sides of your screen. Why that is, I don't know. This was not an issue with America's Army 2. This isn't an issue with older Unreal Engine 2 games, so it just goes to show that a lot of Unreal Engine 3 games don't have this problem. So it's clearly an America's Army 3 issue. Which again goes back into what I was saying about a non-polished game. A game that just doesn't have the level of care and support that was needed to be able to deliver that awesome experience. And a lot of actual graphical features don't even work with this game. You know, like people try to force anti-aliasing, and it's very hard to get it. Even in 1080p, which is what this is running at, 1920 by 1080, there's still jaggies. You know, there's jaggies everywhere. It doesn't look sharp. Like, the image looks sharp, but there's still jaggies all over the place. And obviously you can benefit from having anti-aliasing, even though you force it through the NVIDIA control panel, or you use any other program, or even go into the ini files and try to force it there. No matter what you do, it just doesn't work. And it sucks. It really does, because, as I said in my review on Steam, I want to love this game. I really, really do. In fact, I do love it. And in fact, even now, I prefer it over Proving Grounds with all its issues. But it could have been better. And when you're playing it, you can't help but keep thinking about that. and it crushes your soul. You know, it's like playing most shooters today and realizing that they could have been like shooters of the past where they actually deliver that really awesome experience that people crave or just don't get nowadays. And America's Army 3 was the most recent iteration of a tactical shooter that did a lot of things right, but fell flat on its face because of something as simple as that. That could have been remedied really quickly and polished up to be a phenomenal gaming experience. I still recommended it in my review because it's free. Anyone can go and download this and experience what a true tactical shooter should look like and feel like. And it's free. You know, to me, that's the ultimate selling point. That's the only reason why I would recommend this game, because the whole package isn't terrible. You know, there's some shortcomings, which I addressed in this video, and those are the only shortcomings. Everything else is excellent. So that's pretty much why I actually ended up recommending it, simply because it's free. If this costs money, I would probably steer you away, but because it is free, and even if it costs like $5, I would probably still say it's worth it, even if it costs $10. But it's free. So it's absolutely worth investing some time and trying it out and seeing for yourself how the game actually is. My name's been PepperBelly. Thank you guys for joining me today on this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.